It's really easy to get AI to say something. It's actually a lot of work to get AI to do something that's like really, really accurate. We aren't always the first company to put out an AI feature because we tend to take our time more and make sure like when we launch this AI feature, we make sure it's really, really good. I think we're all familiar with like mediocre AI features in the market today, right? We're really trying hard to avoid that.
AI note takers are everywhere, but how do you know which one is right for your team? In this series, I'm going to be talking to the CEOs and co-founders of some of the top AI note-taking tools out there to learn about some of the more advanced features they offer. We're going to dive into things like their HubSpot integration, how easy they make it to customize the notes for different teams and use cases, how they handle data security and privacy, and other key features that really make them stand out. And why does that matter to Arrows? If you're syncing your meeting notes into HubSpot, Arrows can read that data and automatically suggest the right updates to your sales rooms. So you can update things like next steps, milestones, value props, and Arrows will even suggest new content that should be added to your sales room based on what you discussed in your meeting. All right, let's get into it. Hey, Richard, thanks so much for joining. I'm excited to chat with you today. I wanted to give like a quick background. So I've known of Fathom for a while. Arrows is a HubSpot partner. So we've seen that Fathom was the fastest growing app in the HubSpot ecosystem. I think it was last year that the announcement came out. So we've been a really big fan of Fathom and the quality of the notes. We knew it was great. And so when I ran this test of the 22 AI note takers to kind of compare all of them, I knew Fathom was going to be good, but I really had no idea what to expect from the others. So I actually ended up randomly starting with Fathom to like compare it. And it ended up really being like the gold standard of like the best out of the box notes just as a default. So all of the other 21 tools that I compared them to just didn't really measure up. I ended up rating Fathom as the number one tool that I explored. So the test of it in a more like scientific way that I tried really held strong and really showed that Fathom's notes were awesome. So I know a lot about your notes. I don't know a ton about the rest of the tool, so I'm excited to dig into the rest of it with you today.
Great. Yeah, I'd love that. Yeah, I think that's the number one thing we hear from folks that have tried other tools is, the quality of the notes. I think this is actually kind of the fun differentiator in the age of AI. It's really easy to get AI to say something. It's actually a lot of work to get AI to do something that's like really, really accurate. And we aren't always the first company to put out an AI feature because we tend to take our time more and make sure like when we launch this AI feature, we make sure it's really, really good. I think we're all familiar with like mediocre AI features in the market today, right? We're really trying hard to avoid that. So it's really, really happy to hear that I'm always happy to hear when it's like people are like, oh, I tried a bunch of these and this one's most accurate. Because I think that is what you're really looking for. That is the key differentiator in the age of AI.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have to say too, I posted about it on LinkedIn and I haven't seen so many fans of a tool like ever. So many people were like, I knew Fathom was going to be number one. They're the best. We love it so much. So I think that's been fun to see too, that it is like a very viral product that a lot of people just really love.
We have an amazing community of users. I've been doing software for 20 years. I've never seen anything like it. It's honestly the most humbling thing about working at this company is just how much love we get for the product. And we try to give that back by making the product, including our very robust free version, better every day. But it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to hear that stuff.
Okay, well, I would love if you could give everyone kind of a intro and background into how Fathom started, and tell us a little bit more about the company, I guess.
Sure. Yeah. So, really the catalyst for Fathom was actually right before the pandemic, which feels like yesterday, but now is 5 years ago, which is kind of crazy. And, I was actually working at a previous startup that I'd run and was just doing a ton of Zoom meetings, a ton of user research calls. And, I think like most folks, when you do a bunch of meetings, you're like, I love the conversations I was having. I did not love feeling frenetic about trying to take notes at the same time. I did not love having to book 10 minutes afterwards every meeting to like clean up my notes. And I really didn't love, I'd look at my notes 2 weeks later and be like, I don't remember which meeting this was. And, if I found something really insightful or interesting, I'd try to tell my team about it. So much was lost in transmission. I could have an amazing conversation with a prospect or a customer or just, someone on my team. And I try to share, oh my gosh, I got this really big insight. Here's the notes on it. And it just always fell flat. And so we really looked at the market then and was like, there were some tools that were doing call recording and stuff like that, but they were generally specific just for sales teams. And we said, gosh, we think this is so much bigger than sales teams. We think everyone on a meeting hates taking notes and would love to have an AI do this part of the job for them so they can just focus on the conversation. And we actually think that AI is going to get really good and we're going to get to a point where we can afford to give this away for free. So we are going to be the first company ever to like give away call recording, transcription, and AI note taking. And I think that's a lot of why we have that amazing community because people, I think, were so surprised, like, we're providing a lot of value at a free price point, right? And that's how we got started about 5 years ago, actually.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I know you have some stuff to show us on a demo.
Sure.
If you want to go ahead and share your screen and show us around.
Yeah. So I always like to demo by just like, they always say do the last thing first. So I'm going to just go ahead and jump into like, here's what you get after a meeting with Fathom. Because I think this is when you really get to the aha moment. And one of the things we also focus on with Fathom from the start is not only the quality of the notes, but the speed. And so our kind of internal SLA is like, we get you everything you see on the screen with about 30 seconds of your meeting ending. Because that's when you want to like send the notes to a colleague, take a clip and post it in a Slack channel, update your CRM, that sort of thing. So what you have here is like, you obviously get the transcript. We don't really talk as much about that anymore, right? Kind of table stakes. What you really get is this killer summary. And what's kind of cool about it, this is specifically a sales template for a sales methodology called Spiced, which was invented by the great folks at Winning by Design. But we've got a bunch of different templates in here for all sorts of calls, one-on-ones, customer success calls, different sales methodologies. And then we have this really good kind of just like general template that just kind of grabs all the topics you had in a given meeting. I can kind of show that over here. Here's kind of like a general template and just covers all the topics you covered in the meeting, et cetera, et cetera. A couple cool things about this. One is almost everything in here is a link and it takes you back to a part of the meeting. And we think that's super important because we think notes don't always tell the whole story. We think they're almost like a table of contents. If you weren't on that meeting and I want to say, hey, check out this call I just had with Rich, you're reading the notes, you're like, oh, I really want to double click. What did he mean by this? You jump directly part of that part of the meeting. We think that's like super important. The other thing, and you mentioned about customization, so I'll go back over here, is you can give the AI feedback on what you want to change about these notes. And so in this case, we said, oh, I want a new section at the top, a seat count, plan type, prospects, et cetera, et cetera. Fathom will regenerate your notes and generate all your notes going forward with that guidance in mind. And so we think that's super important. I think, out of the box, we're giving you a lot of good options for note templates, but everyone's got specific things they want to know, right? Whether you're in sales, whether you're doing an engineering stand-up, no matter what kind of meeting you're doing. That kind of customization we think is super important. And then the last two things I'll flag is like, we also important, in addition to give you a summary, grab all of your action items for your meeting. I've gotten really good at finding this. And we'll also allow you to basically pull out clips from the meeting. So like in this case, here's some highlights. Like actually, if I don't want to share the entire meeting with someone, which is often no one, and also no one wants to watch your entire meeting anyways, right? I've never been like, oh, I can't wait to watch my colleague's 30-minute meeting. But you can grab that like 45 seconds, like this is a really interesting discussion that I had with a colleague. This is a really insightful comment from a customer. You can grab that clip and you can drop it in Slack. You can send it to your coworkers, et cetera. Okay, so that's, again, kind of what you get out of a single meeting. You obviously can cross your Fathom. So Fathom for me has become this thing where it's kind of a second brain. I don't take notes anymore. When I do a follow-up meeting with someone, I just jump back and read the notes from the last meeting. You can search the transcripts of all of your meetings in the past, all the meetings you had with a specific person. I think one of the things we get asked a lot about is our HubSpot integration. And also what you can do with Fathom at the team level. So let me show you like the highlights of that. I won't go through the entire demo, but just like I'll hit the high notes. So we basically have this team workspace. So you can basically, if you're on a sales team, you're on a CS team, heck, even you're on an engineering team, you want to see internal meetings you're not in, you can kind of put them all in this team workspace. We have kind of like Google style sharing, right? So you can kind of define which teams get access to individual meetings or individual people. So you have a lot of control there. A couple of things I want to highlight that I think are kind of unique to Fathom is we also, if you connect it to HubSpot or Salesforce, but as you mentioned, we love HubSpot. We use HubSpot. It's great. You get this kind of cool deal view where you can kind of see, here's all the deals that are closing this month. And I can then see all the meetings attached to them. So let's look at all the deals closing this month. I care about like the big ones. So let's go look at the biggest deals that we're closing this month. We have this fun little activity chart where I can kind of see at a glance all the emails we've received from the customer, that's white, and all the meetings we have with the customer, that's blue. And so I can kind of click into any of these deals and maybe I'm doing a pipeline review. Maybe I'm just a curious executive, what's happening with this Widget Works deal. And I can quickly see, here's all the meetings we've had with them. Obviously, I can click in any of them, see the summary. But what's really cool is we also now have a deal summary. So we have a summary specific to basically look across all these meetings, right? So if we had one meeting, we might find one pain point. Maybe on the next meeting, we found another pain point. Gosh, now we've got one thing that looks across all the meetings and the AI is writing a summary for that entire deal. Similar to what we had on an individual meeting, you can basically change the template. You can also use this to customize the summary, same way you could for an individual meeting. You can click links, go directly to meetings. And you've got this really cool thing where you can map individual sections into fields in HubSpot so people don't have to actually go into Fathom to see it. And so if we kind of click over to HubSpot and see what that looks like, if I'm looking at this deal in HubSpot, I see basically all the meetings we had with this customer. And again, all the fields that are being automatically filled in. It's on our team mission product. Even on a free account, you get kind of automatic deals, meeting sync. So you meet with anyone, we'll automatically take that meeting summary, put it into HubSpot. Basically, it's like we do all that kind of post-call work that no one likes doing, logging the meeting, logging the notes. We put that in HubSpot. That is why we were the fastest growing app in HubSpot Marketplace. And by far, I think the most installed kind of AI note taker with like 14,000 companies.
Yeah.
So that's super cool. Going back to this deal view, not only will it tell you like summary of the deal, we'll tell you who are the key people in the deal, who's the economic buyer, who's the evaluator, et cetera, et cetera. And one feature I didn't show on the individual meeting, and I'm going to show here, but we'll go back to it on the individual meetings, what we call Ask Fathom. And it's kind of a chat GPT for your meetings. So in this case, this Ask Fathom has basically imagine someone who's watched every meeting with this deal, and I can ask any questions about it. Like, did we offer a discount? And Ask Fathom said, watched all these meetings, so you don't have to. It'll go through, it'll give you an answer, and it'll even also link off to, if relevant, it'll link off to any moments in the meeting where that happens. So you can double click into that. Again, so we've got this at the team level, but you also got it, again, on individual meetings. I can click in, I can go to Ask Fathom, ask questions of it. I can generate follow-up emails with this. I can use it to generate different things. So we've seen people do fun stuff with this, also ask for feedback on how they did on the call. It's kind of like your own little kind of personal media assistant that's watching all your content with you.
Yeah. Very cool. I have to say, on the HubSpot side of things, having the CRM card on that middle panel that you showed inside the HubSpot record with all of the meetings there, plus like the thumbnail of the meeting, I think that's unique. I haven't seen anyone doing that yet. And as a person who we use HubSpot, we live in HubSpot every day, that's so valuable because oftentimes I'm referring back. I'm looking at the HubSpot deal. But anytime I'm trying to refer to a customer, I don't really just want to refer to one call. If there's like an issue, if
Yep.
there's something I'm looking at, I'm like, what calls happened so far? How do I reference these? And so seeing them all inside HubSpot is so cool.
Yeah, that's what we've seen too, right? Like no one wants to live in multiple tools. You're already living in HubSpot. Let's give you all the information so you can stay happy and living in HubSpot.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the note too, I know this is a newer, I think last year you guys launched the ability to sync the specific sections of the notes into HubSpot as properties. I think there are more tools that are doing that now, but I will say that's where like the concise notes that you all have fit really nicely into a property, whereas some of the other tools have like longer kind of things that are still kind of hard to parse. So it's nice that it comes into a property, but it's still not super quick to skim or read or understand. So I like that part of it too.
Less is more in AI land too, right? I think it's very easy to get AI to be very verbose, but that's not what we want, right? I'm trying to use this to save me time. And so I think we really focus a lot on like, we test a lot of different AIs to make sure we get something that's really succinct and really concise. Yeah, we'll deep dive into it. We've obviously got things like folders, so if you want to see like, here's groups of meetings, you want to see playlists, if you want to create a bunch of highlight reels, we've got alerts. If you want to see kind of like ping me anytime a competitor comes up, we've got all those sorts of things.
Yeah, that's awesome. This was really helpful to see. I hadn't seen all of the team features. When I was testing this out, it was just on a free plan. So it's really cool to see all of that stuff. One question I had for you too, when you were showing the deal view where you could see the kind of activity. So is that because you're reading the HubSpot object? So you're tracking emails and all of the activity that's happening on the HubSpot deal?
That's correct. Yeah.
Cool.
So we thought we originally just had meetings in here, and then we thought you really want to see all the engagement you're having with that prospect. And actually, we focus it down just on emails received, because we want to really see how much engagement we're getting from because often do a pipeline review and you see like, oh yeah, we've been sending a lot of emails, yeah, but they're not replying, they're not really engaged, right? And so I think that's super important. And again, another fun way where like you can really kind of mix that Fathom data with the HubSpot data and get some great outcomes.
Yeah, very cool. So one question that has come up a decent amount, and I'm kind of asking everyone for their perspective, but I'd be curious to hear yours. We are obviously in tech. And so on every call I'm on, everyone has a meeting recorder. It's so normal. We're all used to it. Everyone's calls are getting recorded all the time. I think there are still lots of industries that need this and want this, but they're nervous about it. They're feeling like we have confidential information. I don't know if I want something recording this. How do you kind of think about that in the space, and how do you feel like it's evolved even in the last couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's two angles to this, right? One is people's willingness to be recorded. And I actually think this is something we figured out pretty early on. I think it was a little counterintuitive. I remember our investors, 5 years ago, are people going to want their meetings recorded? Turns out when you can not only record the meeting, but you can transcribe it, create great notes, and then you can give it to the other party. Everyone actually prefers that you do it, right? If you're just recording it, we don't know where it's going, we got no control over it. People don't love that. But I think, what we've seen with folks is if your folks in the end of the line get access to it, you can also redact any moment from a meeting. You can trim out just, hey, we probably shouldn't have kept that on the record. The Fathom app actually gives you the ability to pause the recording at any given time and bring it back. So from early days, we thought it's really important that we're providing value to everyone in the meeting, not just the Fathom user. And we're giving everyone control to say, hey, like, I don't want the segment, recorded, let's go off the record. I think it's super important, no matter how sensitive or non-sensitive the meeting is. And then the other side, we also recognize that, like, even, 5 years ago when we getting started, we knew how important basically security and privacy and compliance would be as a product, right? Like, yeah, every meeting is sensitive to a certain degree, right? Like, this is really important information. And so, this is not my first startup. My engineering team, my last company, User Voice, we sold to Netflix, Microsoft, Intuit, like Yahoo, and we help PII for all those companies. So we are very familiar with what it takes, not only just to get through a SOC 2, which is kind of table stakes these days, but like, what does it actually mean to really secure large volumes of PII? We've got a whole trust center where you can go see, you can get our SOC 2 report, you can get our pen test report, you can get anything you want to know about us. So I think we, from day one, and we did our SOC 2 before we even launched. Like, we've built that in from day one. I think a lot of the startups kind of added on later when they're trying to close deals. We said, no, we're already going to do this level of rigor. So let's go ahead and make sure people know that we're doing that from day one. The other thing I get a lot of questions about that I'll also flag is we get a lot of questions about, like, are you training AI models on our data? And the answer is no, not even on our free plan. We don't train AI on anyone's data, and we don't plan to. And so I think that's super important. Also, when we do use third parties like Anthropic or OpenAI or Google, we make sure that they don't train on that data too. We have that contractually in place with all of our vendors. We think that part's also super important, right? I think we have a really robust free version. So really early on, people thought you must be doing something sneaky if you're giving away so much value for free. Like, no. We have a really good business model where long-term we think we can make enough money when you get your whole team on Fathom to support us, give you a really good free version. We're not doing anything nefarious to sell your data or whatnot. That's, I think, super important from a brand perspective to me. And the last thing I'll say is, for really sensitive requirements and for larger companies, we also have things like retention limits and stuff like that. So there are certain companies that say, hey, look, from a legal compliance perspective, I want to make sure we purge every recording after 6 months or a year or whatnot. We support all that stuff as well. So this is an area of focus always for us. I mentioned earlier, having the ability to, like, you have control in every meeting to say exactly who gets access to it, et cetera, et cetera. So I know it's a concern for folks, and so it's something we invest highly in.
Awesome. The HIPAA compliance feels unique. I don't know that I've seen that, or people are really like talking about that for other tools.
I don't think there are many. I think we were one of the first. Can't keep track of everyone, but yeah, there's very few folks that do that as well. Again, being a free product and having kind of the scale of usage we have, we've got a lot of folks reach out to us that are, maybe they're a healthcare software company, or they're actually a practitioner. And so, the good news is, like, we secure everything so secure anyways that, but just by nature, that stuff, we kind of assume there might be PHI in that meeting recording, and we treat everything as sensitive. So it's pretty easy actually for us to kind of adhere to those guidelines as well.
Awesome. Okay. So any like really cool or unique use cases that you've heard of or seen with Fathom, or anything kind of special that you want to highlight?
Yeah, we have a whole, I should actually get my team to sense it. We got this whole kind of, like, I think it's a Notion page of a lot of fun stuff people have done, especially with Zapier. So we have a really great Zapier integration, and people have done some really fun stuff with it. I won't tease out any specific one, right? There's a lot of fun stuff you can do of, like, sending you pre-meeting notes, filling in tables in Notion with highlights and stuff like that. But we have a whole backlog of crazy things people do with this. That's our goal with Fathom, is we're not trying to be this ivory tower with your data. We want you to be able to take your transcript, take your summaries wherever you want, whether that's Slack, whether that's Notion, whether that's HubSpot. Right? Fathom wants to be the platform where we help you record and get this stuff, but we want to get out to every system you use. And so we're trying to, it's one of our big push for 2025 is more integrations, more extensibility. We'll be rolling out an API soon, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah.
Okay, this was really awesome to see. Thanks for showing me everything. Anything big coming, or anything you want to kind of highlight that's coming to Fathom soon?
Yeah, I don't usually tease roadmap features because, we keep a really short roadmap. You never know what you're going to get. But this is something we've been using internally, and it's been blowing everyone's mind. And so I kind of want to tease it a little bit. So I'll share kind of a quick mock-up here. This is not, marketing will kill me if I call it this, but internally we call this AI search. And what this really is you can ask questions. Right now you can search Fathom with keywords, right? Find me every time competitor X gets mentioned. But pretty soon, this next iteration of search, when we improve it, you'll be able to ask, like, hey, find me any positive reactions to my sales demos. Find me every objection that we had in a sales call that we didn't handle well. And so it understands intent, it understands emotion, and it kind of read between the lines. You don't have to give it exact words. And it'll go find specific moments in those calls. And so we're really excited about this. We're coupling this also with a better alerting system. So you could say, find me anytime a competitor is mentioned positively, right? Like, or if I'm anytime, our pricing has a negative reaction, right? Really kind of fun things you can do. And then you can subscribe to alerts either in like real time or daily, weekly. We're really excited about this because I think this is something we get asked a lot. Like, oh, all the time, and teams get asked, oh, does anyone mention this? Or like, people ask for integrations and keyword search works decently well. This works so much better. So this should be coming out. I think we'll be in beta in April of 2025, GA sometime after that. So really pumped about this.
This is so cool. This is something that I've been trying to put together more content around like what to do with your meeting notes and things like that. And so I've been coming up with like ChatGPT prompts of like throw your transcripts into there, but it's basically all of this. It's like figure out what people are saying about this competitor so that you can, marketing, you can send that to marketing and marketing can put that on your website or figure out how to handle those objections or whatever that ends up being.
There's so many use cases in marketing and sales, you name it. And it's funny you mentioned throwing your transcripts in ChatGPT. We see this a lot where people are like, "Oh, I just want to throw all my transcripts in ChatGPT." It's actually way like ChatGPT doesn't do well if you throw it big volume of data. So it's been a really big project to make this work. Probably almost a year, but we're really excited to get it out to folks soon. And we're excited to see what people can do with it, right? So
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks for giving us a sneak peek.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks, Richard. This was awesome. Thanks for showing us around Fathom. And last thing, so I know you have a free tier.
You can sign up for free. You'll be up and running within a few minutes. And if you have any feedback for the product, you can find me on LinkedIn. I always love to hear from our amazing users, new and old. So look for me there.
Awesome. Thanks, Richard.
Thank you, Kim.